was asking the question yesterday, and it got quite heated with regards to religious education, sex education, and the family. What is deemed to be a family in Ireland, and what's being taught and what you would like to be taught to your small children. Massive response to it by email, by text, and by call. So I'm going to just dive straight into this and mix it up across the morning. So Jade, good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Thank you so much. I know you're under pressure, so thank you so much for taking the call and squeezing me in. Did you want to pick up on yesterday's conversation? Go ahead.
Well, basically, I think there's absolutely no space for religion in school these days. I mean, it's 2021, and I think basically if they're going to bring in like classes where kids can learn about all sexualities and basically safe sex, it's time. You know, there's no better time to do it than now. And like, I was raised Catholic. I was christened. I got my communion. I got my confirmation. But like, I didn't understand any of it at that age. So like, it wasn't until I kind of got to secondary school that I kind of started listening to it and realised like how ridiculous it all was. And basically, I remember yesterday you were on the phone and you were on about younger kids kind of explaining that they'd seen like pictures and stuff of like Jesus on the cross and nailed to the cross at such a young age.
5.
And I remember like when I was younger, and I would have been like under the age of 7. And do you remember like in religion, like years ago, there were like the Alive O books?
Yeah, well, I don't, but I saw them at home with the kids, yeah.
Yeah, and like I remember I used to have a teacher and she used to like print out photos from that. And I remember clear as day, I was under the age of 7, and I remember colouring in pictures of like this man nailed to a cross. And like just people, there was like people all looking up at this man. And like that's like...
How old were you? How old were you, Jade?
I moved schools when I was around 7, and this would have been in the first school.
Okay.
I remember, because I remember that teacher. So I was under the age of 7 getting this.
And do you recall how you felt about the nailing of, to the cross and whatever?
Back then, it just seemed so normal because it had been like drilled into our heads the whole time. But like, it's not normal to be colouring a picture of a man nailed to a cross when you look at it that way, you know?
It's incredible because I got an email on that yesterday, and I got a second one which I'll read out, is saying exactly the same thing. I appreciate the crucifixion of Jesus is at the centre of Catholic teaching, but is it appropriate to be telling a 5-year-old about a man being nailed to a cross, placing thorns on his head, and leaving him to die while his mother watches on helplessly?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like, I've got 2 daughters and I never christen them. I'm raising them like without a religion. And then when they're like at a certain age that they've some kind of like cop on and like some of the common knowledge or common sense, then I like explain religions to them. Like not just the Catholic Church, I'll explain like all religions to them. And if they want to be a part of like whatever religion they want, then that's no problem.
Okay, what about sexuality in school then? At what age should that be taught? Or different family units? Or should it be taught at all? Because
that needs to be taught. That needs to be taught because the way I see it is there could be a child at home who is struggling with their sexuality and like privately, like in their own heads, and they know themselves that they are gay, but like they could have parents that aren't supportive of that. But then if they go to a school and the school is teaching it and the school is showing that it's completely normal to be who they are, then they're going to know that it's okay. And also on the other side of it, there's going to be other kids that just say they aren't gay, they aren't homosexual. They're going to be able to see, like if they're learning about kids that have 2 dads or kids that have 2 moms, and they're also learning about kids that have a mom and a dad, or kids that just have 1 dad. You know, if they're learning about all these different things,
and you know something,
that's normal.
Yeah, they will. And if they've been taught that in school and they're experiencing that, and there are conversations about it in school, they won't be mocking other kids then as they grow older.
There's going to be less bullying. There's going to be less, especially if there are kids being taught about this. There'll be less suicides, in my opinion, hopefully. And it's just going to make everything normal because it is perfectly okay to be young at that age. Like what I remember, I was trying to think back and I was talking to a few of my friends yesterday and I was thinking back to when I think I was in like 5th or 6th class, and I remember we had like this sex education. It was a day set out to it, but it was only like 2 hours. And there was the 2 classes went into this hall. We were taught all about safe sex. But I remember thinking back to it, but we were only taught about safe sex between a man and a woman. We were never taught about safe sex between 2 men, 2 women, nothing. But like I'm looking back at that now, and there were kids in my class then that have come out since then as gay.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what's been going through their heads?
Yeah.
You know, like they must have been looking at this and was like, what? Well, that's a man and a woman. And it was just say it was one of the lads in my class, and he's come out as gay since then. He must have been like, well, this isn't what I see in my head. this isn't like what I want to do. So straight away then, he was probably thinking, I'm in the wrong.
Well,
back then,
yeah, I had a conversation yesterday with a chap who actually did struggle as a young fella, and probably struggled a lot because of what the information that he was getting within school and how he was suppressing it, and he was very worried about the fact that he was attracted to the same sex and was afraid to tell his parents.
It's awful. I mean, it's just not right.
In fact, he attempted suicide a couple of times.
Yeah, I 100% believe it. What's drilled into your head at such a young age. Like, I even remember going into secondary school, and that's when I kind of I remember being in a religion class, and I remember just looking around, and everyone was, I just couldn't, what was coming out of the head, what was coming out of the teacher at the time, and the teacher would only ever talk about the love between a man and a woman, and there were kids in my class then that were gay, and they were after coming out, and I'd look at them and I'd be like,
I know. Okay. And if you were raising your children, your daughters, without religion, okay, you say that when they're old enough to make up their own mind, will that not be? It'll probably be too late then, will it? They'll probably have enough a bit of cop on. No. I mean, why do you say that? You have to respect those that have religion and have beliefs.
I 100% do. I 100% I have family members, obviously, especially more the older generation, that believe in religion. I completely respect what they believe in. It doesn't bother me in the slightest, but I do think a lot of it kind of is fear of why they do believe in it, and I think it's just the generational thing, and I completely understand it. But my kids, they will be taught everything about the religions. They'll be taught, especially about the Catholic Church, but they'll be told everything about, especially what the Catholic Church has done to this country.
Oh, so you're only going to tell them the negatives then, are you?
No, I'll give them. I'll probably send them to their grandmothers, and their grandmother can teach them, because the grandmother will know a lot more than I will, about the positives about it, because the way I grew up, I learned mostly about the negatives. But were you, forgive me for asking, I'm dancing, but were your daughters christened? No.
Okay.
No, the amount of pressure that I was put under to christen my kids, though, by certain members of the family.
Yeah.
But I was I don't believe in it. I was are you going to bring them to mass every Sunday? So I was I'm not. And they were no. But a lot of it was because of the fact that they thought that my kids wouldn't get into a certain school if they weren't christened. And in my opinion, I was I'm sorry now, but if they're not going to get into a certain school because they don't have a bit of water poured over their head by a priest, then...
And can that happen? Is that asked as proof?
Basically, yeah. But I don't want them going to that school anyway, so that's fine. I'll send them to... I don't want them going to a Catholic school anyway. They can go to a school where it's more diverse.
So are they of a school age now?
My oldest is 3. She'll be 4 in September, so she's...
So you're saying that they ask for proof of christening, do they? For, say... A
lot of places do. They ask kind of religion. Do you know, they'll ask what religion they are. So you'd put down either Catholic or Protestant, Muslim, whatever.
And what will you put down?
I just put down NA.
NA.
Yeah, not a political.
Okay. And do you think that you won't get a place on that basis if there's a lot of demand for places?
Oh, probably, but I have no problem not sending them to that school anyway. I'll send them to another school that will accept.
Okay, so no christening, no communion, no confirmation.
No, I've had the talk with their dad, because their dad was on the same wave that I am. It was more his idea than anything. I was okay to kind of go along with it back then. If everyone's kind of pressuring us to get christened, it's not really that big of a deal. But then I was thinking more about it, and I was no, I don't agree with it.
But if it's only a piece of paper and it gets them into a school that you want to get them into, would it not make sense just to pour the drops of water? No.
No. It's not. I don't even really want them going to that school anyway. It's more different family members wanting them to go to that school.
Yeah. Okay.
That school, it's not. It's a very religious school, and to be honest, I don't want my daughter being 6 years of age colouring in pictures of Jesus Christ on the cross.
Okay, nice one. Thanks for taking the call. Have a good day. Thank you so much. Just regards to colouring, my 5-year-old started school last summer. Thank you. Have a good day, Jade. My 5-year-old daughter started school last summer and has been participating in religious classes, as it is a Catholic school, and she gets religion homework at least once a week. At her age, 5, it's mainly just colouring, and largely she's excited by it. But the homework that she's been doing has caused me to question whether it's age appropriate. I appreciate that the crucifixion of Jesus is at the centre of Catholic teaching, but is it appropriate to be telling 5-year-olds about nailing a man to the cross, placing thorns on his head, and leaving him to die while his mother watches on helplessly. This was not lost on my daughter, who was upset after the lesson in school and unable to understand or comprehend this act of crucifixion. I was not equipped to answer the inevitable questions that followed. I feel like maybe I didn't give enough consideration to what my daughter would be learning in school. If this wasn't something on TV, I wouldn't think it suitable. And similarly, something of this kind of graphic and upsetting nature would come at least with a warning if it was on television. Or if it was a book, it would have age guidance. The approach to teaching religion is outdated, and I'm also alarmed at the idea that my child could feel segregated because I'm a lone parent. What kind of teaching goes on in schools with regards to lone parents? I think most parents would not agree with a curriculum that was critical of single parents, and it's time for us to start asking questions about what our children are being brainwashed with, says Aoife by email to neil@redfm.ie.
Neil Prendeville, the voice of Cork. Weekdays 9 to 12. Cork's Red FM. Red FM.